Okay, my friends, this is Roger Spur, and I am from Mudfossil University. I started at school in response to some of the things I found in the educational system that needed to be addressed, and I found them because of my work with mud fossils, and I will show you those shortly. But let's take a look at what some of the issues are, and one of the problems we're having is in medical tissues and cells and so forth because they're not understood, and I can show you why they're not understood. And here's Gokul is one of my favorite guys, Seeker. Your textbooks are wrong. These are what your cells really look like. Now watch this. They've discovered new way of photographing cells that doesn't destroy them when they look at them, so they can actually see them doing their work as they do their work. Now, what we're going to be watching is bacteria. And I am talking about membrane-bound bacteria. This is what the issue is now that is being missed. And watch this is very carefully. Absolutely fascinating. Here goes.
I still remember the moment. It's something that I will never forget. The hair on my hands just stood up. It's a microscopic universe within
That's your tissues. These are your tissues.
each cell.
This is an unprecedented view of the cellular world, where we can actually see immune cells scooping up sugars in the ear of a zebrafish in real time.
Focusing only on the crawling immune cells, we've noticed two classes of them. One was not hungry at all, but
This is a sniffer. Inside your immune cells, your white blood cells, there is a defensive mechanism, and one of them is a scout that runs around and looks for things. It doesn't eat, it doesn't do anything apparently. It just sort of sniffs around to try to gather information of who's trying to invade you.
it was very active in terms of trying to figure out, what the environment is. There was another one that was kind of sloshing around with a lot of food in its belly.
All right, that's not a lot of food in its belly. Well, that's my take. What that one there did was the guy that was a scout said, "Hey, we got an issue here." And he said, "What's the problem?" He said, "We got a bunch of this zinc attached to some other molecule coming in here, and whenever I see that, I know what's going on. That's that invasive molecule." And he said, "Okay, well, tell me how what I do." And it immediately, instantly tells this cell to gather up all of these bombs to take out and drop on the thing that just came in. So that's not, let's go back a little bit because this is just so fascinating. I love this stuff. All right. This is in the ear of a zebrafish, and this is in real time. It actually happened as it happens. So they think this is food. No, it's not. I don't think so.
Real time.
Focusing only on the crawling immune cells, we've noticed two classes of them. One was not hungry at all, but
See, not hungry at all, doesn't do anything, sniffs.
it was very active in terms of trying to figure out, what the environment is. There was another one that was kind of sloshing around with a lot of food in its belly. We can actually conceptualize and visualize and analyze the contents of each of these cellular compartments in this crawling immune cell as it's kind of, scooping up its environment. I mean, that is a level of details no one's seen before.
That's the key. Nobody's ever seen this before. That right there is an immune cell. And it has a membrane. And only things that it wants to let in and let out can get in and out. And they're these little channels. Now, when he said it's scooping up a whole bunch of stuff in his belly, it was gathering up a bunch of bombs to take back out to deliver to that molecule that came in that was invasive. Whether it was I don't care what it was, but it was something that had to be dealt with on a molecular level, broke down, sent out. And that's what those little, what he was calling scooping up the things. Okay, here goes.
We're living in a new era of cell biology.
Well, then they go on to a new era, but this is just so fascinating, the things that they have found here. Absolutely stunning what the new research is turning up. Now, let me show you what I have turned up. Okay, one thing I want to make perfectly clear is the one that was running around in here scooping things up. Could be two possibilities that I think. One is that these cells create enzymes. Enzymes are chemistry sets. An enzyme is exactly identical to a virus, only the enzyme works in your favor, and it breaks up chemistry that is invasive to you. A virus is identical, in my mind, 100% identical to an enzyme. However, that goes out and it breaks up chemistry that you don't want it to break up. So you need somebody to go out and break that thing up that's trying to break your good chemistry up. Or this could also be mucus. You know that you can secrete mucus instantaneously. So it could send out a bunch of goo, and it does, and it slimes the surface, and then you don't get invaded. If you don't have this bacteria, and that's what these are bacterias. They're bacterias. These are bacterias. They know they're bacterias, and now they can see what they do. So this is not a mystery now. The mystery is that what we need to do now is to do some testing and investigating what cells in what areas contain what type of defensive systems. What are these things creating? And I could tell you from my research on the mud fossils, I'm going to show you in a minute, we're going to go in a microscope, and I can guarantee you that there is absolutely different chemistry in different areas of your body. I've been working with the autotrophic gill for 10 years now, and I know this very, very well. And from my own mud fossils, I understand nucleophilic substitution and invasion, and what it does is, well, here, I'm going to show you. We're going to go into a long deal here, because this has got to be understood in a much deeper level than, okay, here it is, have a nice day. No, I'm done with that kind of stuff. If you want to understand it, we got to go through it. And I don't mean to be this way about it, but everybody wants a quick snap, 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 have a nice day. No. If you want to continue your life and live a happy, peaceful, comfortable, life where you're not always trying to fight back against something beating you up. And the only way they can beat you up is to get into your chemistry. If you keep them out of your chemistry, you're done. You're okay. And you're supposed to have a digestive system that says, come and go. Come and go. I'll take what I want. You just get the hell out of here. And it does. And it says, I'm going to... And the key with Marguerite, I'm going to just tell you right now. Marguerite, I have no idea how we actually got started, to be honest with you. But I was looking, obviously, into tissues. It must have been somehow... I was just looking for somebody to help me. And she stepped up. And fortunately, it helped her. And I wanted to see what was the actual poop and the urine in these kids that were having trouble. Because that's your digestive system. That's the stuff that comes in and goes out. If that's not right, I don't care what you do. Talk to Hippocrates. He'll tell you. Every single thing starts in your gut. If you don't have the right chemistry in there, the right plastic tubing that's not invaded because it has slime running through it, the mucus, well, then you don't get invaded. And if your bacteria is in there breaking these particles down that are coming through your digestive system, and they make them into small enough little bits and pieces of zinc and copper and cobalt and this and that, which you need all of these. Where'd my chart go? Here it is. Right. This is your life right here. The transition metals. Transition means I can give and take. I'm going to come through here my iron, and I got Fe2O2 and Fe2O3. I'm going to give some oxygen. I'm going to take some oxygen, bring some carbon dioxide, give up some carbon dioxide. I'm going to take some glucose and do this and that. And that's what these do. They're in the middle of the periodic chart. This is what they call electron deficient, and these are electron heavy. NaCl is nothing but a bar magnet, salt. So when you put that in your body, it can break down between these two and add to all kind of different things and bring them through your body. That's why you need salts. If you don't have salts in your body, and there's hold on a second. I don't know if these are any good or not, but there's 12 cell salts. And there's a guy that did a research on corpses after they die. These salts are in the body, and these cell salts apparently work on cell walls and cell membranes, and that's the key to keeping the things out of your cells, the things you don't want in your cells. That's why you have membranes. Every single cell has a cell membrane, 100%. 100%. Let me show you the membrane. And again, I know doctors know all this stuff, but you know, I want everybody to know this stuff because it's very simple, really, and when you break it down. And if you have the bacteria in your body doing the jobs that I just showed you they're supposed to do, hopefully you're not going to get invaded. If you do get invaded, you have a much better chance of responding very quickly and having very mild symptoms of what could be deadly for other people. And I did deep research on the COVID when it first came out, and it attacks the collagen fibers that are extremely rubbery in your lungs, your heart, and your pulmonary system. Your lungs go 24 hours a day until you die. Your pulmonary system goes you can see it. Now when that breaks, you get blood clots. Blood clots stop something in your heart or wherever, you die. And in your lungs, if they can't if they can't get that stuff in there, well, you don't get any oxygen, you die. Your heart goes pushing blood, pulling blood, pushing, pull. You die. Now, I am a researcher, and I have a bunch of papers that mention me, some on connective tissue and so forth. So I'm not just a one-shot deal here. I've been doing this a long time. Now I'm going to show you something about how I started with this fascia and how these cell membranes now start to make sense to me, how they really are virtually the protective system of your entire body. And if you don't have those intact, you're in trouble, deep trouble. All right, I'm going to try to make this as painless as possible. Now, Gil Hedley is really, literally, I think, the world's leading anatomist, especially in considering fascia. Now, this goes back 9 years ago. I had contacted him about fascia because he was the fascia specialist, and they considered it fuzz. They thought it had really no anatomical purpose other than to buffer and to sort of keep things cushioned between, and they call it fuzz. And then he came out with this reconsidering the fuzz. This is at the he's a PhD and at the Vancouver Facial Congress, and he goes to all of these places all around the world, and he's one of the, as far as I'm concerned, he's the top guy. Now, and I still work with Gil now, not work with him, but he confirms the things that I say. And he has always confirmed everything I've said. He said, yes, I cannot disagree. I say, all he's ever going to say is it looks like what you're saying or it doesn't. So he is fabulous. Now, let me show you what I originally found in the fascia. We're going to be looking at things in a microscope. It's going to get a little involved, but if you don't get involved, you're never going to understand it. Because these fibers and these membranes seal your system from invasion. And we now know that we are continuously searching for invaders to go out and, destroy them, get them out of our body. And if you're healthy and you don't have any what they call pre-existing conditions, then you quite likely will never have any serious invasion. You may get invaded, absolutely, but will it be serious? That's the key. And I'm not telling anybody to do anything. I'm not telling anybody to take anything or not take anything or do this or do that. I took the Pfizer vaccine. I'm not against anything. I'm not for anything. I want to know the truth. Bottom line. Now, let's get into some serious fascia and the cellular matrix that holds your body together is now called interstitium. And Gil and I literally discovered it. It wasn't unknown. Well, let me just show you. All right, this is about 3 years ago. It says, meet your interstitium, a newfound organ. And this is the stuff that's just under the surface of your skin, basically. And this is the stuff right here. And what it does is these little balls hold in these straps of collagen. See this collagen bundles? Then the cell linings, and then you have these little balls. Now, this is the mucosa or the skin, it doesn't matter. Underneath it is going to be this interstitium. So, remember mucosa and serosa. Those are the two types of membrane types. And mucosa makes mucus. Now let's look at the tissue types, because this right here is the barrier between you and whatever's here. If this is poop in here, only the things you want to get some of that stuff through, but you don't want all that poop coming in. So you have membrane entryways and so forth that allow only certain things in. Now, the mucosa, the only thing that creates mucus is bacteria. The bacteria that lives in here, it exudes the mucus to protect itself. If you kill the bacteria that is embedded in this membrane, it's called membrane-bound bacteria. I showed you the pictures Gokul showed of all these little things squirting around in there. That's where they live. They live in the cells that live in here. So those bacteria create those little things. Maybe it's scooping up all kinds of mucus and squirting it out. Or it was scooping up bombs to take out and do it. Whatever it is, those are the two things they do. They make bombs and they make slime. And if you don't have either one of those, you're done. So if you get invaded and you have no bombs to attack the guy, well, he's going to just keep coming. If they want to break through the wall into your vital flesh, and you have no bacteria there to create the mucus, done. That's what it is. It's invasion. It's stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4 cancer. It's just more and more progressive invasion. And it's all due to inflammation and then the response to inflammation. And if you can't respond correctly to the inflammation with the correct chemistry, then you will try to do something else. And before long, you'll be attacking everything in your body. They call it a cytokine storm. Your whole body says, well, what are you doing to me? I said, I don't know, I got to attack something in here. There's something going wrong. I'm going to attack the hell out of everything until I get it. And before long, you just go home and die. And the bacteria, literally within days, within a couple of days, if you talk to Marguerite about how effective the bacterial response was in autism, her son John was nonverbal. Apparently it was very, very serious. I didn't get, all I wanted to do was do the chemistry and understand and do what I could to see if we could help. And it did seem to help. I let Marguerite tell her story, but I was pretty happy. I was excited as hell. Okay, good morning, my good friends. My name's Roger Spur. I started a little school to address some of the issues that I thought weren't being correctly addressed in the academic arena and in the medical arena and everywhere, basically, because once there's an established way of doing things, it's very hard to change it. And I have found that a lot of things just aren't right. And I've been doing research my whole life. I just want to show you, I'm not bragging, but I went back, I've done all of this stuff, chemistry and atomic physics and very deep stuff, so that I understand what everybody else is saying about atomic physics and light and energy and all of that stuff. And I understand more, I believe now, about the periodic table of elements and how these transition elements and metals work in your body, in the blood, to transfer different things in and out of your body, and then how they stabilize when you die. That's how I got started in this, by mud fossils. And they are creatures that have petrified by being, like, this is a goose. And that's the head of the goose. And that's the neck of the goose right there. And it died laying here in a flood. And I have human stuff too that was also the same sort. Well, here it is right here. Hold on. Oh boy, I can't find. Hold on a second. Well, Gil and I studied fascia. Well, I didn't study it with him, but he consulted with me. Let's put it that way. He was very, very helpful, very, very gracious, nice guy, smart guy. Now, and I had a lot of questions, and he had, he was very, very nice about everything. And one of the things, I really get carried away. It's just the way I am. I can't help myself. It's just probably some kind of disease I have. The human nervous system has to have several different components to the way it responds to input. And we know this because of different ways you cut things, and your brain can't, apparently what they say is it can't get to that organ or whatever, but the thing still could work. So there's different names for it, but things just work on their own, autonomous or autonomic or whatever you want to call it. And then there's other things that, have to be driven by certain reflexes, and it gets a little confusing, and nobody knows how it works, because they talk about the nerve. Well, where's the nerve go? Where's the nerve go? It goes down to run your sarcomeres in your muscles and turn them on and off. Yeah, big deal. Where's that? Who tells the muscle what to do? Who said to do that? Did that just happen by itself, and the nerves just all of a sudden happen? Or did my brain say, yeah, you better do that because Roger's talking and he says he wants to make his finger go? Did something come down to say that? I think it must have. Nobody knows. Nobody knows these things. But they show you, here's your synapses. What does the synapse do? Does it talk to somebody? Does it spit out a chemical? How does a chemical make the language needed? Is it just an on-off switch? It's not. It can't be. Because I can go this way, that way. Well, maybe I'm on and off in about a million different things. I don't know. This is just so much to this, and it's time that we looked at it in a whole new way, because. Everything needs to be looked at in a whole new way. Let's just start with that. And there's a lot of work that has been done on this. There's a lot of work, but you got to put these pieces together. And the people that do the work, they go home, and after the end of the day, that's it. They're done, and nobody looks at this stuff. I'm telling you, it's absolutely unbelievable the things that I have turned up. Unbelievable what they have known for so long and just swept under the carpet. I don't think anybody's doing it on purpose. It's just nobody pays any attention. They're happy doing what they're doing, fat, dumb, and happy. That's what they called it. And, you don't want to rock that boat. But this means that people don't get any better. They get worse. I think we need to look at it. Let's put it that way. If we could do some tests, and I know exactly the tests to do, and I know the chemistry to look for, and I know the places to look for, and I see certain chemical signatures and certain things in my mud fossils, in these, like this bonehead and so forth, and there'll be some certain chemistry that'll be here and there where ligaments attach, and where, the interstitium, which collects this to the rest of the body, same thing here, that's like a flap that holds this so that your lung doesn't flop around in your body. You know what I'm saying? You got to be held together. That's what it does. It holds you together. And it holds this like a bag. And that bag is a rubber bag. And it's extremely rubbery in the lungs, in the heart casing tissue, the lung pleura they call it, and some other areas. And it's very same sort of materials in your pulmonary system, which is your blood vessels. Every time your heart goes, think about that. Just think about that for a second. Take a moment and contemplate that. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, if you want to live. Now, if you don't have the right chemistry here, you're not going to have the right rubber. The rubber is not going to work right. It's just like you try to make tires out of something that's hard. It's just not going to work right. Now, what happened with this COVID stuff, I believe, well, I know for a fact that from the autopsies, I think I saw some, this goes back right at the beginning of it, and my mind is starting to, I do a lot of stuff, and I'm going to blame it on doing too much. Not that I'm getting old and forgetting. But anyway, the autopsies, I believe, said that what was happening was the collagen rubbery fibers were converting from there's collagen types, and I think there's like 28 of them or something, but there's some real specific ones down in the very low numbers, 1, 3, 5, that type of things. And one of them converts one collagen, it breaks it down, and it makes it just disintegrate, so it doesn't have the rubbery stuff. So I can't get oxygen in. My heart won't beat. My blood vessels are collapsing and breaking because they're not rubbery. So what caused that? Now, they talk about underlying conditions. And normally I am finding that people that don't have the right bacteria in their body to create the enzymes and to create the mucus, they're not being protected. So they are the ones that have the pre-existing conditions primarily. Plus it can lead to obesity, because if you can't digest the food that's coming through your body and get some of the minerals and metals and substances that your body says, hey, I need some more zinc, man. And he says, well, the bacteria that used to give us the enzyme to break the zinc off and break it into a molecule we can use, that guy died. He said, what happened to him? He said, well, they shot him up with some antibiotics or something. I don't know, the kid had an ear infection, and next thing you know, that guy's dead. If I don't have that zinc, the kid's going to get autism. What am I going to do? I can't get the zinc. Well, no autism case. Whatever it is, I'm just saying zinc. But talk to Marguerite. Now I'm going to tell you about Marguerite, because she probably won't blow her own horn, but I'll do a little horn blowing for her. She had, her son John Jr. is autistic, but he was on a very high end of the autism spectrum, and I think he's had a lot of improvement, and primarily it's due to her. And, I worked with her, I talked to her, we just went back and forth, and it all started out, I said, well, how is his poop? How does he poop? Oh, there are all kind of problems. There you go. He's not digesting the food. Simple as that. He's not digesting the food. If you put something in your body and there's nothing to break it down, you're going to have all kinds of problems in your digestive system. It's exactly what happens. And they can get autism, boom, just like that. I was sick within a week of having the antibiotics, and it got worse and worse and worse. I didn't know what to do. I had no idea. Nobody did either. And then I found out, it is a whole big long story about how I discovered these probiotics. And they were going to do a documentary. I might as well tell you. They were going to do a documentary on my research. And the guy that came up to film it was telling me that he had been sick, and they told him he was going to die. There's nothing they could do for him. He had some kind of Lyme infection and this and that, and they were giving him all kinds of antibiotics. And the next thing he knows, they said, your body's attacking itself. Well, it wasn't his body attacking. There's nothing to help his body. And they said that you're just going to have to die. I mean, I'm serious. And he said he started taking these probiotics, which is a good brand of probiotics. I'm not going to name any brands. You know, I won't say anything about Primal Defense. And about a week or two later, he was out jogging. And Marguerite's son has had some very, very significant advances in his autism, is what I'm led to believe. And this is easily looked into. It's easily looked into. What is the bacteria that should exist in what sections of the colon, what sections of the small intestine, what is in the, all the way down from your tongue down, your lips. Every bit of you inside that tube that goes from your mouth to your anus is coated with bacteria of enormous quantities. Enormous quantities. And if it's not there, you won't have the mucus. Basically, that's one of the main things. You won't have any mucus slime in there to back off the toxins. And it creates its own mucus to protect itself. They live inside these little pockets in the interstitium layers and in the membranes. They call it membrane-bound bacteria. And they live there. That's their place. They want to live there. They love it. And they get their nutrition from the things we eat. And now that also brings up a thing. You should give them some bulk. I'll throw another one in there. Metamucil. I take Metamucil. I don't know. It's cilia husks or something like that. But I just go with that. It works for me. And that's what you did. That was what my the guy that did the surgery on me. I had surgery twice. I almost became incontinent. Thank God I found this guy. And he says, "Yeah, just take probiotics and take Metamucil. You'll be fine." I'm not kidding you. I never heard a word of that from anybody else. And this is why I'm doing this about the interstitium, because this is crazy. Marguerite, I'm talking to you about, her son. Marguerite went to Harvard to understand the intricacies of what we're just talking about right now. And doctors don't even understand these intricacies. I'm talking to a fellow out in South Africa yesterday, and he's kind of a big shot, you know, and he's got some kind of he's highly skilled. I think he went to medical school or something. But when I mentioned interstitium, he said, "I never heard of that." I said, "Well, nobody's heard of it. They just talked about it in 2018. They call it a new organ." He said, "Oh, come on." I said, "No, I'm kidding. I'm not kidding you." 2018. I said, "We discovered it back in 2012. Gil Hedley and I discovered it in my Mudfossil." I said, "What the hell is this?" And that's when I got a hold of Gil Hedley, because he's the one that was a fascia specialist, and it went on from there. And anyway, so Michaels didn't know about it, and he's pretty high up there. And then I get this thing today from Michelle, from Marguerite, who is involved in, you know, this autism research and so forth. She says nobody understands this interstitium. I'm talking to a lot of doctors. They have no clue. They want to find out about it. So I said, well, that's why I'm doing it. I have to get this done now too. Also, I got to be honest with you, because I'm getting old. My mind is starting to fail. I would have forgot all about this, because I did this about the new COVID problem, and they allowed it back then. That was right when it first started. I'll show you a couple of clips from there, because it's very relevant. And now I'm going to have to go into some extreme long detailed videos that talk about how the interstitium is tied as a web of literally fibers that run to every different type of cell and every different type of chemistry and every different type of investment of tendon, different types of tendons and anchors in your chest area, in your gut area, in your knees, in your legs, in your feet. They're all different chemistry. I'm finding this in my mud fossils because they all petrify in a different way, but you can see the chemistry in there. I'm getting pretty good at understanding it. And believe me, you could see it very, very well. It's not hard to see. I have microscopes and everything, and it's quite easy to see, and it's quite easy to understand why this is so rubbery compared to this. The bone has to just be coated and held. This has to do this all day long. You've got to have all kinds of flexible fibers there. And the heart tissues is the same way. So anyway, and the duck or goose or whatever it is, it has the same fibers. It's the same material, the same collagens and keragens, only they're configured in a little bit different way. That's all it is. The biology of life, the chemistry of life is elegant and pretty much universal, it looks like to me. But we got a lot of testing to do. I'd love to do some testing on this. And hopefully it will be done. And sooner or later it's going to be done because it's meaningful. Okay, my friends, I could just talk about the different cells and tissues and membranes and so forth, but I can not only do that, I can show them to you as they petrify and what they consist of. Now, this is the microscope over here. I'm going to be showing you, this is lung pleura, extremely dense, fibrous, rubbery pleura. And then you have a different type of what they used to call fascia. I think it's called periosteum. It's just a wrapping of the bone. And the mud fossils are 100% preserved to the fascia. And that's why I was going to call this fascia-facilitated fossilization, because fascia is the coating of even this goose head. And the fascia is really what it is. It's a type of collagen, keragens. I'm not exactly sure of even the chemistry, to be honest with you. But I do know that it's considered one of the... There's several different collagens that have different characteristics that are extremely important. One of them is, I think it's either 1 or 3 or 5, I'm not sure, but one of them is extremely rubbery, and that's what creates this. Then there's other collagens that are kind of tough, that do tendon stuff, where when this kind of rubbery fascia gets attacked, that's when you can't breathe and your heart stops pumping well and your pulmonary arteries and so forth start to collapse and you get blood clots and your rubbery veins and arteries and so forth begin to just deteriorate. And that is, I believe, one of the issues with this new virus. Anyway, we're going to be going through these in the microscope, talking about, because it's very, very basic and simple. So we're going to be seeing all this stuff. And this is a lot of why I'm doing this. I want to show mud fossils and my new research. This is a new species. That's a new species. It could be a human. Well, I know they're not human because I have other ones. I have a lot of these. And they have these springs built into their feet. And here's one that's way eroded. And you see that? That is the heel bone of a foot. This one here is this side. But that is the heel bone. And out here in the front is these springs. And that's what gives the thing ability to do that. And that's where the bone was, the main bone, the tibia. And that's where the fibula lays on the side. They just fall off. I got a lot of these. I do the same thing. That's where the blood supply was in the front. The toes are inside. I call these no toes, because the toes were built right into them. Like even this one here. The toes... here's whoops. All right, there's the heel. There's the heel bone. If you can see that, there's a strap that runs up. I show this I've got this all well done. And then these are those springs that lead up to the feet, where the toes were built right in. and they load these springs up. That loads this spring up, then that pulls this in, which pulls that spring in. So you have a double loaded spring. It's very, very elegantly made. And it's got latches and actual, I did the research on this, trust me, I know what it is. And these are actually where it impacts the ground. Boom, boom, boom. That loads up, comes back down. It's got springs, it's got straps, the saddle is right here where the main bone's at. All right, let's look at the microscope shots of these things. And I'm going to discuss one at a time. We're going to start with what cells are made of. And this is your body. This is what all there is cells, tissues, and membranes. Basically, that's your whole body. You know, and they make organs, and they make muscles, and they do all the things. You know, I was going to show things in a microscope. I don't think I need to show them. This is so simple. It's unbelievable. This is National Institute of Health and National Cancer Institute. And this is about cells, tissues, and membranes. Now, here is what we have learned from cells, tissues, and membranes. Now, basically, a cell consists of three parts. There's the membrane, which is the bag that holds it. Inside is a little thing they call a nucleus. And between the two is what they call a cytoplasm. It's all a goop. Now, the cell nucleus, which is that little tiny thing inside the membrane, contains the, genetic material, DNA, and regulates activities of the cell. So in other words, that's the brain of that one particular cell. Regulates the activities, that's what they say. It determines how the cell will function as well as the basic structure of that cell. What type of cell is it? All kinds of different cells in your body. Now, all of the functions for that cell expansion, its growth, replication, so forth, are carried out in the goop. It's inside the bag. All right, so you got the bag, which is the membrane. You got the cell nucleus, which is the brain, supposedly. And then everything else happens in the goop. Well, what's in that goop? There's a lot of goop there. And they have organelles, and they have all kinds of things going on in there. And anyway. Tissue. All right, when you say tissue, you say flesh and muscle and so forth. That's tissue, is a group of cells. And they're similar cells. They have similar structure. They're muscle cells, or their tendons and so forth, and that function together as a unit. So that's a tissue is a unit of like a muscle bundle or a tendon fiber or whatever. Primary types of body tissue include epithelial, connective, muscular, and nervous tissue. Those are the different types of tissues. Now they're going to go through each one of them. So let's start with epithelial tissue. Very, very simple. Outside tissue. Epithelial tissue form the covering of all body surfaces. They line the body cavities and hollow organs and are the major tissue in glands. Right. Epithelial tissue basically is a coating. It's a coating covering all of the body surfaces. So think of it that way. It's the barrier between you and the rest of the world. Now, then you have connective tissue. It binds you together. It connects you. And it binds your legs to your hips and to your back and so forth, and it forms a framework that supports your organs and the body as a whole. It stores fat in this connective tissue. It also has the ability to store fat in there. It transports substances, which all your body does. Every single cell, every single molecule in your body is continuously transferring in this transition zone. Otherwise, you die. This is what they do. You give and take molecules all day long. So where was I here? They transport substances. Well, all of them do anyway. So anyway, connective tissue as well as all other fluidy substances transport substances. They protect against disease. Yes, the connective tissue is a barrier again. And they help repair tissue damage. Of course, because the bacteria that resides in these tissues, which are membranes, they repair the tissue damage. I mean, that's what they do. Muscle tissue is composed of cells that have a special ability to shorten or contract in order to produce movement of body parts. They call them sarcomeres. And they're little segments, little barrels. And they have electrical signals on both sides. And a whole batch of them going at once, you get some serious power going. No. So that's how you move your body parts, is with these sarcomeres. Now, nervous tissue is a different story. Nervous tissue is responsible for coordinating, controlling many body activities. When they say nervous tissue, they don't understand what that means at all, basically, in my mind. They see little fibers here and there, and they say, ooh, that's nervous tissue. Well, yes, and it leads to other things that lead eventually to cells. Cells have to be able to communicate through your nervous system. They are part of your body's general system. I mean, I don't think they can be just left on their own and just do whatever you want to do. Somehow they are coordinating with the rest of the system. So coordination and controlling body activities. Somewhere in these little tiny nerve fibers, and you can see there is bazillions of them. If you saw the thing that I showed you with Gokal showing how the bacteria works, you could see that when you see the first shot where the webbing of it's unbelievable. You know, it's like wires going everywhere. Now, so that's your nervous system they're talking about. Now, body membranes. This is the key right here. These are the thin sheets of tissue that cover the body, line body cavities, and cover organs within the cavities in hollow organs. Membranes. They keep things on one side and let things on the other side. Now listen, two main categories of membranes. Epithelial, we talked about in the first, and connective tissue. Epithelial is outside-ish ones, and connective tissue is inside ones. Subcategories of these are mucous membranes, which coat the lining so that the toxins can't get in. That's what they do. They mucus. But within that mucous membrane lives the bacteria. The bacteria secretes the mucus to protect itself. But in addition to secreting the mucus, it makes enzymes that are inside those white blood cells and so forth. That we saw them scooping them up, all these kind of things. Were they scooping up enzymes, or were they scooping up mucus and bringing it out? But they grabbed a whole bunch of stuff and went out to deliver it. One way or the other, it was one or the other. Because you have the serous membranes and synovial membranes. Synovial membranes are real sloppy, slurpy. They used to call it small leucine-rich proteins, are the coatings that do that. And then you have the meninges. This is the key to the issue with autism. We have to figure out what is going on with the brain activity. Something has attacked the meninges, which is the coating of the nerve fibers, I believe. Let's look a little deeper. Right, this is a smidge of a mind blower. The autonomic nervous system, they used to call it the vegetative nervous system because it just happens by itself. Well, guess what else it does? What's autonomic mean? The symptoms included gastrointestinal and autonomic disturbance. Gastrointestinal, there you go right there. Isn't that amazing? I find this absolutely incredible. Autonomic. Just in the description of what the word means, they tell you what the problem is in gastrointestinal. It's involuntary or unconscious, it means autonomic, relating to the autonomic nervous system, which just happens in your body. They used to call it the vegetative state, where you just didn't control it, it just happened. The symptoms included gastrointestinal and autonomic disturbance. The gastrointestinal created the autonomic disturbance. Now, just quickly, this is how detailed the different layers of tissues that are surrounding, all of your, this specifically over here is where the vagus nerve runs all of these organs and all of your senses and coordinates everything. I mean, you have to coordinate these. It has to be some form of an interactive, instantaneous, responsive system that not only sees and hears and thinks and reasons and reacts, and I mean, it blows my mind. Every time I think about how sophisticated life is, it's just... And then when you start getting deeper and deeper and deeper, and then you start getting into this stuff here. And I have microscopes. I got microscopes that go very deep, and I have other ones that don't need to go that deep. But they show the detail, and then you can show them in different shades of spectrum, and then you can see the different materials that are in them. It's fascinating as heck. So anyway, I hope that some doctors will see this and start to understand interstitium is a whole new situation that has to be looked into. The bacteria is just absolutely essential. Absolutely essential. And all of this stuff can be tested. The tissues that have these membranes can be examined for what the membranes have in them. And if the membranes in a sick person don't have the same kind of things that the healthy people have, well, duh. You think about that a little bit. And then, but let me make one really, really important point. If you're going to have your kids or anybody, yourself or anyone, take any antibiotics for anything whatsoever, you're going to damage your good biotic, probiotic stuff, and you're going to have to fix it. You're going to have to replace it. To talk to your doctor about it. That's all I'm saying. I'm not going to tell you take this or take that. Talk to your doctor. Say, I heard antibiotics kill the good biotics. What should I do to make sure that I don't get an invasion of these tissues that are supposed to have these good biology in them, these microbes and bacteria that create mucus and all of the different fluids that I need in my body. If they're dead, I'll be invaded. What should I do to make sure that they don't die and leave me in a vulnerable position? It's your right to say that. At least know, to see if your doctor knows anything about it. I'm going to tell you right now, I've been going for several things. I had my eyes done and my, just checked, and my ears and so forth. And I asked, even when I had my shots for the vaccine, I said, what do you think about probiotics? I had no clue. None whatsoever. Nobody. And then I asked a couple other questions that, about the interstitium stuff. No, I never heard that. No. That's no. And they don't. You can see them turning off immediately when you start to ask a question that invades their territory. And I understand that, but I just wanted to see what their level of understanding was, and it is very, very minimal. It's antiquated. So, time to stop and think over again. I hope this helps somebody. It helped me. I just want to talk and speak and think and remember all the things that I did that was my research. It's kind of exciting to go back and remember all this stuff, because I am forgetting it. I research every single area too, though, so I'm not just, I'm going to attribute it to just mental overload, not just senility. I love you. Goodbye.